Hey Polish friends, it's Caroline again, and welcome to another video here at Wild Moon Lacquer. In today's video, we are taking a look at the new fall collection from OPI called Big Zodiac Energy. This is a 12-piece collection featuring a lot of shimmers and specialty finishes. We even have a hollow flaky. I purchased this at iNail Supply. I'll post a link down below in the description. So let's go ahead and jump right into this 12-piece collection. So the first one is this very dark burgundy shade, and this one is called Big Sagittarius Energy. This one is described as a garnet burgundy pearl, and this one I would definitely say has that pearl finish. For this one, I would say you do definitely want to make sure to apply it carefully because of the pearl finish. You will see some brush strokes here and there. As you can see, if you apply it carefully, you don't really get a lot of brush strokes, but they are there. You just have to work quickly and try to use as straight a lines as possible so that you don't get obvious brush strokes on the nail. But this one has a really beautiful opacity in these two coats, and this is a perfect Vamby shade for fall. This is actually one of my first tones of red that I really liked a really long time ago. It's taken me a lot longer to warm up to the brighter shades of red, but this one is just gorgeous. So that was two coats of Big Sagittarius Energy. Next up is their second red. This one is called Kiss My Aries, and this one is described as a fiery red shimmer with citrine shimmer. So this one is a brighter shade of red, as they use the word fiery. So this one is definitely easy to work with in that first coat. Since it isn't a pearl finish, you really don't need to be super careful about how you apply it. And for a shimmer polish, this is pretty opaque in one coat. This one I think is nice in these two coats. I think it's good and opaque, and I was pleasantly surprised that this one isn't as bright of a red as I feel like it was in the bottle, especially with that description of a fiery red. It does have a boldness to it, and it is definitely a brighter color than our burgundy shade, but I think this is one that I could easily see myself reaching for the fall season. It has that deepness around the edges, and definitely not a bright, bold lipstick red, but a beautiful color there in two coats. Next up is this beautiful coppery shade called #Virgoals. And this one is a really interesting specialty finish. It is described as a copper with aventurine glitter in it. Now I would say it's not really a glitter, it's more like a shimmer, but I'm seeing shifts between green and gold in there. So this one is definitely on the sheer side in one coat. This could definitely have topper possibilities over some other colors. You get that light wash of the copper with that flash of the green and gold shimmer. So our second coat does add a little bit of opacity, but this one is definitely going to be a 3-coater for full opacity, unless you want that to be a light wash of copper on your nails with a light wash of that shimmer. And here is our third coat. This one I would say still maintains somewhat of a sheerness to it, so if you don't want to see any of your nail line, I would suggest putting this over a blurring base coat or maybe a matching undie. As you can see there in 3 coats, you still see my nail right through it, so if you want this to be opaque, I would definitely suggest putting this over a cream color to give yourself that opacity that you want. But that does mean that you can use this as a topper quite easily. As you can see, you wouldn't be building up too much of that copper glow on top of any of your colors. You could put this over, of course, any shade of brown or copper or orange, but I think this could look really interesting over some shades of green or maybe even a burgundy as well. So there's 3 coats of #Virgoals. Next up, we have a bold gold, and this one is called the Only One, and this one is described as a bold gold shimmer. So this is actually a very interesting shade of gold because while it is a bold gold, it isn't a very bright yellow, vibrant gold. It definitely has a warmth and a depth to it, perfect for fall. That first coat is definitely sheer. This also has topper possibilities, so you could put this over a number of colors for your fall season. In 2 coats, we do get a little bit more opacity on this one. I don't think this one is quite as sheer as the previous one, which was #Virgoals, but we're going to go ahead and add a 3rd coat to see how opaque we can get it. This is definitely a nice rich tone of gold, like I mentioned. Now let's see how opaque it ended up being. Yeah, a pinch more opaque than Ver Goals, but it is still a little more on the sheer side, so just something to keep in mind if you wanted to wear this and have it be firmly opaque on your nails. I would suggest putting this over a dark gold cream or something else that you want to match it to, maybe a golden yellow if you wanted this to be a bit brighter and give yourself that boost in opacity. But that does have a beautiful gleam on the nails. So there's 3 coats of the Leonly one. Next up we have this light green, and this one is called Tourist Me. And this one is described as a mint green shimmer with peridot tones. And this is a beautiful lighter shade of green. We do have a teal coming up as well. So another shimmer polish that is pretty sheer on that first coat. This also has topper possibilities, so you could use this over a lot of different colors to add a beautiful glimmer to the nail. Our second coat adds another layer of shimmer, but we do still see a lot of visible nail line underneath this. In fact, I would say that this is definitely not even close to being opaque, as you can see firmly all of the pink on my nail there. So this is at least a 3-coater, again, similar to #VerGoals. You could wear this over a blurring base coat or a green polish of your choice to amp up the opacity on this one. And there is 3 coats. So this one definitely is more along the lines of the #VerGoals. You still see very much your nail through this polish. I don't know if maybe these were designed more as toppers in the collection, but they are very sheer. This one does have a lot of beautiful shimmer in it though, actually kind of similar in shimmer type to the #VerGoals, just with a green base instead of the copper base. But again, this type of shimmer could look beautiful over a lot of different colors, basically any shade of green, but you could also add this over a variety of colors, although I do like it over the pink. It sort of adds a watermelon look for summer. So there's 3 coats of Tourist Me. Next up is our teal green, and this one is Feeling Capricorny. This one I had a hard time finding a description for. Actually, a lot of these I had to visit multiple websites to try to find the best description. Some of them were extremely simplistic and some of them were very off. For instance, describing something as a pearl finish when it was not. One of the websites for this one described it as a sage green shimmer. Another described it as a moss agate green with garnet and gold glimmer. To me, this is a teal with a shimmer that goes from pink to gold. There's also a teal shimmer in there. So I'm not sure what the official description of this one is, but let's go ahead and see it swatched. So this is another one where that first coat is very sheer. This would make a beautiful topper over a lot of other colors. There you can see that beautiful pink shimmer. In our second coat, we add a little bit more of that teal color and a lot more of that beautiful pink shimmer. So there's 3 coats. This one is definitely still on the sheer side. Again, you can mostly see my nail through this polish, although I will say it's not as sheer as the previous polish or as #VerGoals. So it is ever so slightly more opaque. That could be because of the darker color. But there on the nail, you can see that beautiful pink glow and that teal green color. I think in person it does have a slightly more moss green shade to it than the darker teal that's coming up on my screen. It is a gorgeous color. So there is 3 coats of Feeling Capricorny. Next up is a light blue, and this one is called Pisces the Future. And this one is described as one website described it as a light blue pearl. The other website that I found described this as a sea blue with blue lace agate shimmer. And I would say what I'm seeing is there's something in there that shifts to a pink. You can see that pink glow at the edges. So there's something that shifts in here. Beautiful soft blue. So our first coat of this is more opaque than the other shimmer polishes that we've looked at previously. This one I have hopes that it will be opaque all on its own in maybe 3 coats. But this has a lovely soft glow on the nail from that shimmer that shifts to pink. You can also see that beautiful aqua shade of that shimmer as well. But in 2 coats, it's actually a little bit more opaque than I was thinking it would be. I think some nail lengths might be okay with just 2 coats. There you can see it against my natural nail, and you can see that you can still kind of see it, but again, depending on your nail length and application, 2 2 coats of this one has the potential to possibly be opaque all on its own. And there it is in 3 coats. I wanted to see how opaque I could get this one, and this one definitely has a different formulation than our other shimmer polishes. So maybe this does have that pearl, a slight pearl finish like that first website described, because you can see just how much more opaque it is than the shimmer polishes all on their own. So this one, I would say, compared to the other pearl finishes that I've swatched this year so far, you don't have to be as careful when you're painting it, but as you can see there on the nail, you do see slight brush strokes. This one is also a touch lighter in person than I feel like it's coming off on camera. It has a very silver leaning blue to it. So there's 3 coats of Pisces the Future. Next up is this beautiful dark blue called Scorpio Seduction. And this one is very rich looking in the bottle. It is described as a deep navy blue with an amethyst shimmer. And the shimmer aspect on this is actually harder to see, but you can kind of see that glimmer there at the edge. I don't know if I would describe it as an amethyst necessarily, but I am seeing a pink glow there at the edge. Our first coat on this one is sheer, similar to the other shimmer polishes that we've been looking at, but because this is a darker color, it might be opaque enough on some nail lengths in 2 coats. In 2 coats, this definitely deepens up. You can start to see that beautiful navy color, that deep blue. The shimmer in this polish is really beautiful, and the shade of blue is very nice. So on our 3rd coat, we do get more opacity, more richness of color, and of course, more shimmer. Here it is against my nail, and you can see that on some nail lengths, I think you'd be fine with how dark this color is to have it look mostly opaque on your nail in these 3 coats. If you have extremely long nails though, and a very obvious nail line, you might still be able to see a little light coming through this polish since it is in a sheerer base. If you wanted to get this very, very opaque, again, you could pair this over a matching cream polish in any shade of a dark blue. And there's 3 coats of Scorpio Seduction. Next up is this beautiful, like deep indigo polish. This one is called Aquarius Renegade. And this is another one that I actually had to go to multiple websites to try to find a description, because initially on the first website I was on, it had the exact same description as the previous one, Scorpio Seduction. Both were described as a deep navy pearl. Now this one I would say has more of a possibility of having a pearl finish. The other website that I found described this as a midnight blue with amethyst glimmer, and I would describe this more as a metallic-y, maybe pearl finish in a deep indigo. This has a beautiful color in it. It is more purple in person than I feel like it's coming off on my screen anyways. So this one is actually very impressive in our first coat here. I would say some nail lengths might be just fine with only 1 coat. This one is very impressive compared to a lot of the other shimmer polishes we've been looking at. So like I said, this one does have that metallic-y, maybe possibly pearl finish to it, but it has that metallic gleam that I don't usually associate with a straight up pearl finish. But this color, you guys, is gorgeous. This one is simply stunning. It has that beautiful deep purple tone to it with a pinch of blue lean. It is lovely. This one is a beautiful 1 or 2 coater. I did go back with a 2nd coat to see how opaque and rich I could get this color, and this one is a favorite. This has such a beautiful finish. It has a rich, beautiful color, and the formula on this was beautiful to work with. Simply gorgeous. Again, a 1 or 2 coater depending on your nail length and your application. So there's 2 coats of Aquarius Renegade. Next up is another shimmer polish, this time in a berry shade, and this one is Feeling Liberated. This one is described as a shimmery violet with indigo opal shimmer. So I would describe this as more of a berry leaning color more than a violet shade, but we'll see how it swatches. This one is actually full of flakies, which no description that I could find actually listed, but you can see those larger particles there. Plus you have the shimmer, so I'm seeing shades of pink, blue, and purple. So the first coat of this is very similar to our other shimmer polishes, very, very sheer. You get a jelly-like wash of color and those beautiful flakies and shimmer. So again, with this one, you're going to have topper possibilities over basically any color. I think this one could look beautiful over my summer pinks like I'm wearing right now. 2 coats adds a bit more of that jelly color. I would still stick by my description of this as more of a berry shade as opposed to a violet, but I'm really liking the kind of components that they used in here. You can see those larger particled shimmers as well as those flakies. And there is 3 coats. This one definitely maintains its sheerness and jelly feel. Here on the nail in 3 coats, you can see straight through to my nail underneath. So this is another one where I feel like if you want it to be opaque, you would probably have to pair this over a matching cream, a beautiful vibrant pink or fuchsia if you wanted to wear this in the summer, or if you wanted to wear it in the fall season, I would pair this over a deep berry shade. But it does have, again, nice components in it. It's just very interesting that they chose to go so sheer on so many of these colors. So there's 3 coats of Feeling Liberated. These names, you guys. Next up, we have this very light peach, and this one is called Gemini and I. And this one is described as a rose quartz pink with shimmer. So this one has that light peachy tone. I do think a pale rose quartz also fits the description nicely, and it is chock full of shimmer components. Mainly in this one, I'm seeing it in silvers and pinks. So our first coat of this one does have a little bit more opacity than the other shimmer polishes we've looked at. This one might be okay on some nailings, wearing this as just a light glimmer on the nail in 1 coat. So this one I feel like has a lot of versatility as well. You could wear it in 1, 2, or 3 coats, depending on the look you're going for. So our second coat adds a nice opacity to this. Again, I feel like some nailings might like how it looks in 2 coats. You have that very light wash of a very pale color and a lot of that glimmering shimmer. This one actually might be one that could be used for a number of those, what do they call it, like glazed donuts, and there's a couple other very barely there polished trends that have been in over the summer. This one might be one that could fit the bill for some of those looks. So for this one, I did go in with a 3rd coat to see how opaque I could get it. There in 3 coats, it has that very light peachy pink look. Mainly what you're seeing is that glimmering shimmer. Again, I feel like this is a very your nails but glossed sort of a look. It's not really going to add very much in the way of color on most nails. I don't know necessarily how much impactful color this is going to add, especially for a fall polish, but it does have a beautiful gleam to it. So there's 3 coats of Gemini and I. And then the last polish is, I think, the most exciting because it has silver flakies. This one is called I Can Certainly Shine. And this one, again, the descriptions on any of the websites that I found, I don't really feel did this one justice. I was seeing them describe this as a hollow silver or a silver hollow with glitter. And this one to me has those smaller silver hollow flakies that I love to see in polish. So I was very happy to see a mainstream brand putting this out in a polish. This is, again, definitely one that could be used as a topper there in 1 coat. This would look beautiful over every single color. You don't really have much in the way of a base color to obscure the color that you would wear this over. Again, I'm not sure if this was designed as a topper maybe for the collection, or if this was designed as its own polish to be worn opaque in 3 coats, but I don't know if this is going to get opaque on its own based on this first coat, but beautiful components. Again, this is one of my favorites to see in polish. And there's 2 coats. It does add a little bit more opacity, but again, we're still sort of in topper realm here. You can see straight through to my nail underneath. So again, I'm not too sure if this is designed to be a topper or a polish, but it is gorgeous either way. And there we have 3 coats of that last one, I Can Certainly Shine. This one has got to be one of my favorites simply because of the component used. I love how they look on the nail. This one might be one that people could wear on its own. It depends again on how you want your polish to look. If you don't want to see any light shining through, I mean, this one does have a clear base, so you might want to put this over maybe a silver or any color of your choice to give yourself that boost in opacity. But very happy to see a mainstream brand using this ingredient. So there's 3 coats of I Can Certainly Shine. And there we have the OPI collection for fall, Big Zodiac Energy. I would say I like the color story. I'm glad that we got a full basic rainbow of colors here in the collection, but I will say I'm a little bit disappointed that we got so many sheer polishes for a fall collection. I like this formula, Big Sagittarius Energy and Aquarius Renegade. Those two had my favorite formula because they did get opaque on their own in 2 coats. For a fall collection, I feel like it was a little bit unusual to have so many polishes that didn't reach full opacity in 3 coats. That to me feels more like a spring, maybe a winter collection, but maybe that's just me. Let me know what you thought down below. I also thought it was very interesting that they included some unusual shades for fall. The pearl finish here from Gemini and I, as well as this light blue Pisces the Future, didn't really feel fall to me, but again, maybe that's just me. In any case, I am very happy to see them using some unusual ingredients for them, like these hollow flakies. The other thing I will say, I've been struggling with the names that they've been using lately. The last couple of collections, their past summer collection and this one, I feel like the names aren't as witty as they usually are. I feel like a lot of times when you think of an OPI name, you think of something that's cute and catchy and has sort of a roll off the tongue that sounds really cute. And these last 2 collections, I feel, I don't know, almost like they have AI picking them out, where it's like, oh, let's do zodiac collections and stick the names of all of the zodiac signs in the polishes, and don't really have like a sentence or phrase around it that makes much sense. Again, is that just me? I feel like when I'm reading some of these, like I can, sir, tenly shine, it doesn't roll off the tongue at all. And the other one, feeling liberated, like I'm sure they were going for like liberated or something along those lines, but it doesn't roll off the tongue at all. It sounds very clunky. What was the other one that I felt that way? Pisces the Future. I don't know what they were going for a name, but it doesn't make any sense to me. If I'm missing something, feel free to enlighten me down below. But yeah, I don't know. Overall, I feel like the names have slipped the last couple of collections that I've seen. I just don't feel like they're very OPI-esque. But again, maybe that is just me. I don't know. In any case, hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing the swatches of this new collection. Let me know your thoughts down below. Did you have any favorites? Are there any that are must-haves for you? I feel like for me, again, formula-wise, these 2 were my favorite, Big Sagittarius and Aquarius Renegade. And as far as colors go, I would say those 2 are my favorite as well, at least for the more opaque colors. I really like this burgundy tone, and as I've mentioned, this kind of a deep wine-leaning red was one of the first shades of red that I really fell in love with many years ago, and this one being that deep indigo is a favorite as well. I absolutely love this shade, but I'm also happy to see them using some other ingredients like this one here in Feeling Liberated. I don't love the name, but I do love the components that they used. Again, I don't know why they chose to go so sheer on this, because they could have easily added more opacity to this one, but I do like the ingredients. And then I would say the other favorite that I liked simply because of how unusual it is and perfect for fall is #Virgoals. Now again, I don't know why they chose to go so sheer on this one. I feel like it would have been fairly easy to add a pinch more opacity to this to give yourself that copper look on the nail with that beautiful green glow, but I like the color. I really like that copper color with that green glow. So that one is going to be up there in my favorites. But again, overall, I would say I feel like this is a bit of a miss for me, mainly because we have so many sheer polishes and I just don't understand that decision. In any case, again, hopefully you guys had fun looking at the collection. Let me know your thoughts down below. And I do have another collection coming up from OPI. I have the new Barbie collection to swatch here. If you're new, make sure to hit the little subscribe button down below. That way you don't miss out on any of my new videos, and I will see you in that next one.